Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, Trek Movie just did a little bit of an interview or reported on some reporting on Chris Pine talking about his audition to get the role in the 2009 Star Trek film and how he didn't think he was going to get it because they waited months to get back to him, and JJ was giggling, and he was introduced to Spock though, Zachary Quinto, who he knew through his trainer and his nutritionist and stuff like that, and just it was a big deal to get a movie back then. But then when reporters asked him about the next film, if they were going to do a Star Trek 4, any news about that, he said, "You probably know more than me." He was surprised that they had a new script writer because, as far as he knew, they already had a script. So it's not looking good for the fourth film. But it is the anniversary of the original 2009 JJ film. And I have to say, I don't hate that film. I should, because there are a lot of issues with it, which I sort of have realised retrospectively, whatever. I mean, I saw it back in the cinema and I did like it. I saw it, I think, 15 or 20 times. I know I saw the last film 20 times, Beyond, and yeah. So I saw it a lot, and it was in part just because we were starving for Star Trek, and also because, well, what better thing do I have to do tonight than go and watch Star Trek again? And I saw it with everyone I knew. But I didn't have the issue with it some people did, because I sort of felt that the Star Trek films, with the exception of Star Trek the Motion Picture, weren't really science fiction films. They very much just pandered to the general audiences. Since Wrath of Khan, it's all just about, space battles and goodies versus baddies, and there's a villain who wants revenge, who wants to destroy the Federation, we have to kill them by the end of the film. And that's really, probably with the exception of Star Trek 4, is kind of, pretty much all the Star Trek films have just been that sort of Wrath of Khan sort of format, in a way. So when they did these films, and it was basically just, there's a villain who wants revenge on the Federation, and we have to kill him by the end of the film, I was like, yeah, it's a Star Trek film. And I really was okay with the idea of the alternate timeline, having everything look new, be new, have different actors, everything, because it was an alternative timeline, which then turned out to be an alternative universe as well. But at the time, we just thought it was an alternative timeline because we had been told that they were going to use the original canon universe, that's what we saw at first, which didn't really make sense, but we kind of gave it a miss because we hadn't actually quite seen that era, so technically it wasn't wrong. But we sort of worked out later. We sort of worked out not long after that. They did talk about the fact that it was actually a new universe. The Prime Universe was a universe they had to create because they couldn't get the rights to the original canon universe, which they thought they were going to, and all they thought they had to do was create the alternate timeline to base most of the film in, but they couldn't use any of it. So they had to create the Prime timeline. So it is totally different. But I didn't care at the time either way. It didn't change how I felt about the film after the fact, and it didn't. Just the timeline issue didn't bother me. I enjoyed it, and I just saw it as a fun action-adventure film, and the idea was to draw more people into Star Trek and then do a spin-off TV series, which would have resembled Star Trek more because they wouldn't have the budget for all the flash. They'd actually have to have some story and some character and some dialogue and some development and stuff like that. And I thought the series would be more representative of Star Trek, and the film would bring people into it, and then they'd enjoy it because it was good. That's what I thought they were going to do. I didn't realise they'd go even further in the other direction with Discovery and do something totally different, make it more like Star Wars, and just throw out everything, the format, the captain's log, the colours, the themes, everything, and just make it this dark, generic science fiction show trying to be Star Wars. So it's really weird because I think part of the reason why I liked it as much was the assumption that it was going to lead to a series that would have that similar feeling, because it did kind of feel like Star Trek at times. And, the bridge was really bright, and it just, the yellow and blue and red uniforms, everything, it did feel like Star Trek. The energy was there. And I thought that would translate to a TV series. I figured they'd either get other actors to play the same characters and it'd be set on the Enterprise, or they'd maybe do an original ship with an original crew, or they'd do, Pike's Enterprise or something before the actual film. So that was what I thought was going to happen. So I kind of gave it a bit of a break because of that as well. But a lot of people hate it, and I must admit there's a whole bunch of plot holes which I just turn my brain off and enjoy the film. That's the only way you can watch it and the only way you can enjoy it. But other than that, I don't see much point in switching my brain on and just seeing all the problems and not enjoying it. So I haven't watched them in, I think the last time I watched them was before I saw Beyond. God, that was like 8 years ago. I must have watched them since then. Maybe not, I don't know. But I don't think I've watched any Star Trek since Discovery, other than Discovery and all the new Trek shows, because by the time I get through watching them to review them and criticise them and defend Star Trek, I don't have the energy to actually watch real Star Trek anymore. I've barely watched any. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the original JJ film. Its 15th anniversary. How does it look now, 15 years later? I don't hate it as much as others. I think it's aged a bit better than you'd think, but still a lot of issues, and it's not actually Star Trek. But it kind of didn't need to be for the purpose that it served at the time. But that's something people will debate forever.